Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. In today's special feature episode for our Mother's Day celebration series, we are hearing from a total legend in the sport who has been highly requested by many of you. She has 15 professional championships under her belt. She won the Arnold Classic in 2014 and in both Australia and the United States in 2016. She has stepped on the Olympia stage 7 times and is a passionate contributor in this industry as the podcast host of Raw. She's also a certified personal development coach, speaker, and owner of an online training company. She is on a mission to empower women to conquer themselves and loves to help others with conscious parenting, bikini prep, pre- and postnatal training, and of course, keeping mental work at the forefront of any transformation in all stages of life. So welcome to the show, India Paulino. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we get to chat.
Of course. Me too. It's going to be a really good one. And I have, like I told you before, I have so much planned. And one thing I always like to ask my guests when they come on is if they have a ritual or something they do right before their heel hits the stage.
You know what? For me, I go through, something specific. Not really. I mean, I pray. Actually, that's one thing I do. I pray just for God to be with me on that stage. That's something, yes, that's definitely something I do. My amen, and I go on stage. So that's something that I do all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've had a lot of really cool journeys and shared lots of different stories and experiences, not just with competing, but about your life. And I listened to a few of your podcasts and I admire your vulnerability. So I'm really excited to have you here, like I mentioned. And you have such a wonderful energy and contagious energy. So I know it's going to be awesome. And the fact that, you're able to share vulnerably, it tells me, and of course others, that you've been through a lot of your own transformations, challenges, adversities, and you've been able to come out on top. And a lot of that you've actually attributed to personal development, which is something you do consistently, and you share that consistently. So what's something that you commit to every day that helps you to take on your day-to-day life with the energy and commitment to your values and your passions?
I make sure that I keep my gratefulness for everything at the top of my mind, my heart, everything. I think when you really, and I'm going to say truly, genuinely are grateful for the things in your life, everything changes. It really does. And I have to mention, like I said, I have to say truly and genuinely, because a lot of times, and I've been there before, where we kind of say, yeah, I'm grateful for this, I'm so appreciative of that, but it's like you're kind of just saying it. It's a different story when you really dig deep and really just you're present, and that, how do you say it? And I'm sorry, because sometimes Spanish gets in the way, so I want to say something in English, and I totally don't know how to say it. And it's weird because people are like, what are you talking about? You don't even have an accent. I'm like, I know, but Spanish was actually my first language, so sometimes I have trouble with some words. But no, when you are truly grateful, and like I said, when you've done work, and when you're going to hear me say do your work, and what I'm referring to is when you take that time to be able to really get to know who you are, your soul. Like, I'm sorry, my dogs,
That's
of my
okay.
dogs, I don't know why it's barking, and really get deep down into your soul and start that personal development journey of really finding out who you are, why you are the way that you are, and then letting go of those parts of you that the ego protects so dearly, but it's not even who you are, then you really start you start getting down to your core. And something that happens when you're there is that you're really able to, your perspective changes. And so, you're able to become more present and find more positive than negative, again, your perspective. But going back to being grateful, it's being truly grateful. And I think when you get there, you'll know, you know what I mean? So for me, it's really feeling that. So I don't just say, oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. I take time to acknowledge it, to recognize it, to take it in, to breathe it in, to feel it, like I said. And it makes such a big difference. You no longer start focusing on what society likes to, or tends to, put us in the direction of focusing on what we don't have yet.
Right.
You really change it around, and you're put into your energy into what you do have. So I hope that makes sense.
Made total sense. Yes, absolutely. I'm extremely passionate about personal development and psychology, and actually pursuing counseling now as well. But something that,
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Something you said that stood out to me was like, it's not surface level gratitude. It's actually feeling it. And that was very relatable, because there was a time when I would journal like all these things I'm grateful for. And then one day I was like, you know what? Like, scarcity can't exist in a mindset of gratitude, because like you said, there's the abundance that you feel. So I started just writing down 3 things, and then spending time in each of those 3 things, really feeling that, it makes a big difference.
Exactly. It really does make a big difference. And I used to do the same thing. And it's, gosh, when you get on that, and when you start doing that, it really does change things, and it really helps you along your personal development journey, for sure.
So what actually inspired you to immerse yourself into personal development in the first place?
So I'm a pretty private person. I used to be more so before, but I'm definitely a lot more open now. Like you said, it's, due to just, I've overcome a lot. I've had a lot of obstacles I've had to overcome. I've had, I was in a really dark place many, many years ago. There are things that I still haven't spoken about. I plan to in the future. I'm ready to speak about, some of them. Some I'm still not ready to talk about. But just growing up, just my experiences, where I was at my lowest for many years, and how, during those times, what kept me alive was my light. And just, there's this part of you when you're going through something really, really traumatic and really sad or whatever, and there's the darkness, and it's pulling you into a very, keeping you depressed and keeping you in this, maybe you're getting thoughts that are just, not good, or, whatever the case is. But then there's this little part of you that is helping you kind of keep your head above water, and kind of pulling you, maybe not strongly, but it is pulling you out of it. And you recognize it. You just don't put your attention to it too much, and you choose to have the dark take you. So that little bit of light is what I kind of held on to. And it also let me know, it was like, one thing that I do is I analyze, let's say a situation happened and I didn't like how it made me feel. So typically it's your triggers, right? Something triggered you and you didn't like how it made you feel. Well, I really analyze those because I want to get to the root of it. I've learned to take the other person who triggered me out of the equation and look at, why is this bothering me? Why is this triggering me? So I did a lot of that And one of the things that I learned was, wow, like, why am I being like this? Like, why did I respond that way? Why did I get like that? Why was that my reaction? And I didn't like it. Like, that's not who I am. Like, it's like what I was inside was completely different to what I was showing the world. And I was a bitch. Like, I'm not going to lie. And I didn't like it. It wasn't who I was. But, through doing my work, I realized it was just pain. Like, a lot of us, the more the pain, sometimes and depending on what we grew up seeing and all of that, then the more, the harder or meaner or gosh, like evil stuff that we do. And for me, I just didn't like how it was all projecting, and so I wanted to make a change. I was like, this isn't who I am. I'm not happy. I need to do something about this. Like, this is not me. And I just knew it. And I went with that, and I just focused on it. And, you start freeing yourself. That's the biggest reward is yes, it's hard. It's one of the hardest things there is to do. I'm always straight up with my clients, and, you're going to face the parts of you that you ignore. You're going to face the parts of you that, piss you off, or you think are ugly, or you think are just terrible. You're going to face those things. You're going to have to. But one thing that's going to come out of it is you're going to be more of a free person, more peace. And everybody deserves that. So that's why I'm so passionate about it, just because of my own personal story and a lot of things, like I said, that I've gone through. And, I'm still healing from certain things. And that's one thing that, like, I love people to understand is the fact that it's not, personal development isn't like I'm going to do one session, or I'm going to do therapy for one session. Like, everybody needs it. It's something that everybody needs. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It just means that you're trying to be better and find your true self. So, yeah.
I love everything you just said. Resonated so deeply with me when you talked about the darkness being so overwhelming, and then choosing at some point you just get sick of it because it's not a representation of who you are, and you choose your light and you let that be what actually pulls you out of the darkness, but with the understanding that shit's going to resurface, and it's going to come up, and you're going to have to face it, and it's going to be painful, and it's not going to be the best feeling thing ever. But I always like to think, would you rather continue to experience the pain of not addressing it, or experience the pain of addressing it and come out the other side with new tools?
Exactly. And I get it. It's scary for, for everybody who, is just starting out, because one of the biggest fears is the fear of the unknown. And another thing is, as we start kind of shedding, those things about us, those, self-limiting beliefs, or, whatever standards we hold ourselves to, and just a lot of who we kind of, oh my gosh, I'm losing myself. That's the part we have to remember, that we're not losing ourselves. We're just shedding the parts of us that, we created from shame or guilt or fear to protect ourselves, so it's an interesting, I'm fascinated by it, honestly.
Yeah.
The ego fascinates me. It's an amazing journey. Like you said, and, we both said, it's very difficult. It's hard, but it's powerful and it's freeing. So it's very liberating.
100% agree. And I think, we both do a lot of work with women in this arena. And I think a lot of people in general, but let's talk specifically to women. That's who mostly listens. And they struggle to believe that they're actually worthy of the results that they desire. And you have been able to really inspire people with your accomplishments and how you show up for yourself and as yourself, the way you speak and write. And I want to know from you, what do you feel has been the most important aspect to you, not just going after what you want, but also accepting it?
Accepting which part? I'm sorry.
Accepting
going after what I want.
So Yeah, not just going after it, but also accepting the results when they come to you.
Oh, okay. Again, it really goes back to work, because doing work, because it comes in different levels, and we all have different experiences. So maybe, this person's working on self-worth, the other person's working on, something completely different. I think, like you said, for women, a lot of it is the worthiness, I don't deserve this. I'm not enough, like all of these lies. And for me, it was getting to the root of a lot of things that had so you think a lot of things aren't directly associated with, I don't know, maybe a problem you have or you kind of keep running into, but it is.
Yep.
It is, because the reason why we get ourselves, let's say, into the same relationship, like maybe like, why do I keep attracting these douchebags, or why do I keep like having these terrible relationships at work or whatever, there's the root of it, right? And when you start doing the work, maybe you don't start going to therapy or personal development sessions for a relationship, but when you're doing your work for your core and what you aren't seeing, your ego is telling you one thing and it's something else, then you start to kind of clear that. First of all, you start recognizing it, and then you start doing the work to heal it. And once you start on that healing process, you're able to see things. You're more aware. You're more conscious of yourself and some of the things that you've done. So you start to work on, or at least to identify, there's a problem here. I realize that I don't feel worthy because of this or that, or because this person told me this. And maybe you're not completely healed yet, but when a situation comes up, you're able to recognize that feeling is coming up for you, and it's kind of messing up the results or whatever. So then you're able to start to attack it and handle it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm following.
I say it like the long way, but so for me, I just basically that. I mean, I did my work, so I had to learn that I was deserving of certain things. I had to learn that I was worthy of certain things, and so when you get there, I feel the accepting it just kind of comes.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of happens, at least for me. Yes, you can go back and forth, and like I said, there's different levels, and maybe you become accepting of one thing and you're like, okay, I'm totally worthy of this, and then another situation comes up and you're like, oh gosh, no, I don't feel worthy of that. So that's where the levels comes in, where it's different.
It's like whack-a-mole, and the more aware you are and the more you practice, the easier it gets to notice that sucker when it pops up and hit it in the head. You know what I mean? So yes, I'm totally following what you're saying. And I think that it's really awesome that you have this ability to recognize not just, what's going on in your own life, but also helping others to see that there's going to be things that maybe show up in one area, but aren't fully or directly addressed until something else is dealt with. And the opposite is true too. So I also like that you encourage anybody and everybody to reach out for help, because that's one of the beliefs I have as well. You don't need to wait to be in pain or to have a serious problem to work on yourself, because it is freeing. It is exciting. And man, if you're not in pain and you're not experiencing those things, then that's an even more awesome place to grow from. You have all this positive energy.
Right.
So I actually want to talk about your app. And you have an app where you provide a lot of coaching for future moms, moms postpartum, busy moms, and just women in general. So how did, maybe I should say, training and looking after your nutrition or working on your mindset actually help you be the best mom you can be?
Oh my gosh, like in all ways. It's one of the things, being a mom, there's so much that comes with being a mother. It's the most amazing thing in the world. It's my biggest accomplishment. I love it so much. But it's hard. It's hard in many different ways. You have to take care of yourself. That's what it comes out. You have to take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, because what motherhood does, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, motherhood brings pregnancy, and even, when you have children, it brings up a lot of our old stuff. So it's actually, a lot of pregnant women are in therapy because all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. A lot of your old stuff comes up. It's just what happens. And so, and then you have hormones, and there's just a lot. You have, the fears of, and what's this pregnancy going to be like, or what's motherhood going to be like? What's my birth story going to be? There's just a lot to think about. So throughout pregnancy, it's really important to just take care of yourself, do the things that are going to keep you, at peace, but also keep your mind clear and try to not have stress, because the baby does feel that stress. One of the things that I did was I made sure I made a promise to myself. I said, I refuse to let anything stress me out during this pregnancy. I said, I'm very big on, and when we talk about conscious parenting, it'll all make sense, but I'm very big on not passing my stuff on to my child. And so for me, it helped me a lot, because there were maybe like sometimes you think you're not stressed, but you are. And whatever happened, I literally just reminded myself, nope, it's not worth it. And I didn't attach to it. I just kind of let it go, or I handled it in a completely different way, because I did not want to stress out my child. I wanted a very healthy pregnancy, as peaceful as possible, as what I can control. And then also eating right, because you're eating right for yourself, but you're also eating right for your child. Physically, I trained, when I felt good, I trained. I also listened to my body. I wasn't I pushed myself, but I wasn't putting pressure on myself to train. If I was extremely tired, which I had a lot of fatigue the first trimester, then I laid in bed. I'm like, you're growing a human. It's totally okay. Like, I just listened to myself. And so, that helped me postpartum, to get the weight off, and just mentally, I also just enjoyed my pregnancy so much. I took it, and no matter what, I felt this, I felt that, like, I didn't care. For me, I tried to make it about, like, wow, like, this is incredible. What a miracle this is. Like, my child right now is growing inside of me, and this is something that is not going to be forever. This is the closest I will ever be to my son, and that my son will ever be to me. And this is the most I will ever be able to protect him, which is like scary, but, but I loved pregnancy. I fell in love with it so much that I became a certified doula while I was pregnant.
Wow.
So.
Have you practiced as a doula?
I don't. I wanted the knowledge. And if I work with, not work, but I help out with, I'm very big in the pro-life movement, because I'm about women, and I help out a lot of women who are having issues, whether it's financial or whatever. And like, I would volunteer my time if a woman needed a doula, or it doesn't even have to be, it's just anybody. I'm for women. So like, there's a lot of pregnancy centers that help women in crisis. And so I did it in case, I have people that work with a lot of pregnancy, and I said, hey, listen, if somebody needs a doula and I will be there. I know a lot of amazing people in the birth world, because I was planning a home birth. And so I connected with a lot of midwives and just, doulas and just different birth workers, birth photographers, OBs. So I love it.
I can tell, and I think it's really cool that you would give and donate your time and expertise and support to those who need it. And you just said you were planning a home birth. Did you not have a home birth?
No. So at about and I was so connected to my son, like so connected, and I knew what he was going to look like. I knew what his personality was going to be. I was due December 23rd, but I knew that he was not going to come December 23rd. Like, he's coming before. And my midwife was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm like, okay. I sure think so. Then one day I woke up and I was just like, I had anxiety and I had not felt this way. And I said to Whitney, I was like, my fiance, I said, Whitney, something's wrong. He's not growing. Something's wrong. I don't know. It's just like mother's intuition. I don't know. So I called my midwife and she's like, well, come in. And, you know, she measured my belly because that's how they do it. When you go to midwife, you usually don't, well, for home births and stuff, we try to like eliminate ultrasounds and stuff as much as possible. So they do that. And so my measurement was kind of the same as it was before. And it had been like a couple of appointments that way. So she was like, you know what, I go get an ultrasound. Mother's intuition, go get an ultrasound. So I did. And he was measuring 4 to 5 weeks behind. So that was a crazy week. They sent me to a specialist, and then I had to go get biophysicals every day for a week. And they said, well, you know, if he doesn't grow, because he wasn't moving a lot either. They're like, if he doesn't grow, then we gotta get him out, you know?
Wow.
So, you know, he was measuring not even 5 pounds. And I was about 37. I was 36 weeks when this all started, about 35 and a half, 36 weeks, I believe, or some, 36 weeks, I think. And so, you know, by a week went by and no changes, not growing, didn't get an ounce, nothing. So, I mean, the safest thing, the best thing to do at that point, he would be safer out because we didn't know what was going on, you know.
Right.
Then the OB, when they transferred us, I had 2 hours to wrap my head around. You are not having a home birth. Now you're going to go to a hospital. You don't know who your OB is. You don't know who your nurses are. And so for me, that was like traumatizing because the reason why I wanted a home birth was because I didn't want intervention, you know, as least as possible. I wanted everything natural. I wanted, you know, and I know that Florida has one of the highest C-section rates. So a lot of times you really don't need a C-section, but it's convenient. And so they do it that way. I'm not saying every single OB is that way. No, but there are a lot that are down here that are known for that and all over too that exist. But so I was scared that I was like, I'm not like, I knew the drill. I was just like, I don't really want this, but well, you know, he needed to come out. So I just did my best to just stay calm. And I got to the hospital and then the OB my OB, she turned out to be amazing. She was awesome. She was really cool. So I was so grateful for that. And, she, you know, I had my birth preferences and she honored that as much as possible, which I appreciate. And she started saying, well, you know, maybe it's a genetic thing. And I was like, oh my, so Winnie starts freaking out and I'm just like, no, like intuitively, I'm like, no, it's not. He's okay. I don't know what it is, but he's okay. And so, yeah, I had to get induced. So it didn't happen, but you know, that's okay. He's healthy. He was in the NICU for a week, which was a whole nother, you know, journey for a mom. That's hard, but he's good. And that's all I care about, you know?
Wow. What an amazing testament to face something you didn't plan for. It was totally out of your control. And then you were literally forced into a situation where you had to really just accept what was happening and be present.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, you know, when you plan a home, like I knew it was just my plan. Like, you know,
Mm.
the baby's gonna do what the baby's gonna do. God does what he does. Like it was just, you have a birth plan, and I knew that it didn't mean it was going to be 100%. But still, you know, it's just, it was hard. It took me a little while. I actually never did write my birth story, and people were waiting for it. And it took me a very long time to process for a lot of different reasons. You know, I was really hard on myself for some things. And then I realized, girl, no, like, just, you did the best that you could. And, you know, the circumstances were completely, like, you weren't expecting this. So, you know, but as moms do that, you know, there's mom guilt. There's, you know, we feel a whole lot of type of ways sometimes. And, you know, it's for us to be able to get through. And I think that one of the biggest things is birth is an amazing thing, but it's not always positive for everybody. You know, some people have very traumatic births, and a very traumatic birth is going to look different for everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, mine was traumatic in my way, but for somebody else, I had the perfect birth, you know, and then somebody could have, you know, gosh, like me, I almost died. Like, I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck for my mom. She had to get a C-section. Mm-hmm. That was traumatic in her way. So everybody, and that's everybody's experience, but it's not talked about enough. And it's important for us to process. Like, that's such a huge part in recovery, mentally and in everything, is for us to really have the time to just process the birth and process just our new life, the changes that we go through physically, mentally, stay-at-home moms, working moms. Like, that's a whole nother thing too. There's just so much, and it's important for us to honor ourselves, our bodies, and our journey.
Absolutely. And so inspiring to hear you say that from the experience you had. And before I talk to you a little bit more about your journey through pregnancy, getting pregnant, and postpartum, I was actually curious what inspired you to want a home birth.
I think they're beautiful. I think that I'm very natural with my son. I'm very, like, you know, I don't give meds unless I absolutely need to. Like, I try to, you know, and he's the healthiest boy ever. Like, he rarely gets sick. It's amazing. I really wanted, I don't know, my birth photographer, Paulino, Splecta, I always hear her last name wrong. She's going to kill me. Splecta, I saw her work, and she captures just the most beautiful, like, birth stories, like, just everything, you know, and just everything you go through, your surges, contractions, your, the moment you're able to hold your baby. Like, to me, you're seeing birth as it is, as birth is, it, no intervention, like, just, you know, and so it just resonated with me. It was powerful, and I wanted to be able to do that. And that's what really inspired me, is just I love it, and I still hold that in my heart, and I still just desire that so badly, but I can't attach to it, because the reason why I was induced was because I was diagnosed with IUGR. So it stands for uterine growth restriction. So for some reason, my son wasn't growing. My belly just could not expand. It just couldn't expand and anymore. So he actually had, like, torticollis, and, like, he had to go to the chiropractor for over a year to fix his neck, because he was, poor little guy, was just crammed in there.
Wow.
But yeah. So, but yeah, I would love to be able to experience that for sure.
So do you want more kids?
Oh yeah, definitely. We want more. We want to adopt too. So.
Oh really? So you want a big family?
Yes. I do.
That's awesome. I actually remember when you had announced that you were pregnant, and it really excited a lot of the community to be able to almost go on that journey with you in some ways. And then
Mhm.
also watching you come back to the stage, because obviously your competition career, your fitness career, it was taking off. It was already taken off. Really, you had so much success in it. So what was it like for you to step away from competing to start your family?
Honestly, it was easy because things that I had, I accomplished more than I set out to in my career competing. I never thought that I was going to accomplish all that. Like it was one of those things, like I said, I wanted to try it. I was a cop during that time, and I saw fitness magazine, and I saw, a girl on the Arnold stage, and I said, that looks amazing. Like I want to do that. And that's where it started. I remember I did my first show. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And then it was like, next thing you know, I'm traveling all over the world competing and speaking and doing all of this stuff. So it was amazing, so, but, but I feel that I was at a point then, because I was already competing. I've competed 8 years
Mm-hmm.
professionally. And I was at a point in my life where I needed to, I knew I was to have children. I wanted children. I was at a point where I felt ready for it. I had done everything that I wanted to do. I had I had multiple careers. I had my own business. I, traveled the world. I was doing great. Me and Whitney. So me and Whitney met, gosh, way like a long time ago, like years ago, actually, 8 years ago. Yeah, and I never in my life would have thought that we'd be together. And that's when like we were dating,
Wow.
we were dating, we had reconnected, which is crazy. And so I knew he would be an amazing father, and it was just we both really wanted a baby, and we wanted to start a family. We wanted that life, and so yeah, it happened. It happened fast.
It sounds like a
I'm very
whirlwind.
grateful for that. No, yeah, I'm grateful for that because I know it's not always easy for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Did you have any complications getting pregnant after competing for so long?
no,
That's
and this is
awesome.
why I always just stress the importance of being healthy, because I did a podcast episode and where it's called "Fitness Isn't Always Healthy," because it's not. I've been there. At the beginning of my career, I had coaches. I was literally starving, like starving,
Mm.
overtraining, starving. My hair was falling out. It was crazy. And then I started training myself. And then when I started prepping myself, that's when I was like trying to fix a whole bunch of stuff, like get back to normal. And so at that point, I was back to eating a lot of food. I was barely any cardio. I was still really lean. I was still competition lean and everything. But I was healthy.
Mm.
And I mean, I had finished competing with Arnold, Ohio. I was defending my title that year. It was 2017. It was Arnold, Ohio. I flew to Hawaii and then to Australia. So 3 back-to-back shows. I come home. I remember I spoke to my OB, and she said, go get an ovulation kit. I had an OB before, whole midwife thing. And
Mhm.
she said, get an ovulation kit. And I was like, what? So I went, I got it. And girl, like literally that same month I was pregnant. It was
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
But yeah,
Wow. That's amazing.
but hmm
Do you think that would have been a different story had you not taken your prepping into your own hands?
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was not healthy. I was not healthy. Like back then, in the very beginning, no, I wasn't healthy. If you were to see pictures of me, it doesn't even look like me. My face was so swollen because so they had me take, and I'm not going to say names because I just don't put people out there like that. But
yes, I appreciate that.
you know, they had me. So let's say, you know, most people are looking at nutritional labels and they're looking for, how much fat does this have? How many carbs? How many calories? I was so programmed to look at sodium.
Mm-hmm.
So literally I avoided all sodium for 2 years. That's dangerous, number one.
Yeah.
And it was really bad. So I was so sensitive to it. Like my face, no matter how, and I was like, when I started competing, I was like 90 pounds. Like I shouldn't have been doing 3 hours of cardio. I should have been eating a lot more than the food I was eating. Everything should have been different, but it wasn't. And I don't regret it. It is what it is. It led me to where I am now. But it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. So if I would have continued on that path, my body, honestly, I feel would have been shot just completely, maybe even irreversible. Maybe I wasn't able to fix things. I don't know. But it took me well over 2 years for me to actually feel normal again. And I didn't realize that I didn't feel normal for so long, but it, you know, it becomes your new norm.
Exactly.
So I wasn't healthy. So no, there's no way. I don't think that I could have gotten pregnant then. So no.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that about you, or your story through competing. And I think that's really important for people to hear. You know, you had a lot of success, but that doesn't mean that everything was all roses, you know.
Oh no.
There were things going on. So after you got pregnant, you had your baby, then you had an inspiring comeback and you went on multiple pro shows. You qualified for the 2018 Olympia. What inspired you to get back into competing after having your son?
My son, actually. You know, I've always been I've always found the motivation within myself. I've never had anybody motivate me. Like that doesn't work. Like it just doesn't, I don't work that way. Like there's nobody that can motivate me.
Yep.
And I, inspires me, different story. But, you know, I thought I was done. I was like, dude, I've accomplished like so much, you know, and I'm so grateful for it. And I like, what else is there? Do I keep trying to win the same shows? Do I like, I needed room for growth, and like, what else was there, you know? And there are things that are out of my control, and I accepted that. And so like, what else do you do? So I was like, all right, I've had an amazing career. Like, okay. I mean, I didn't like completely shut it out, but it was like 99% I was, you know, that's how I'm shutting it out.
Interesting.
And then, you know what, during my pregnancy, like I said, I would talk to my baby all the time. I just talk to him so much. And I don't know, all the time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to compete and I'm going to do this. I'm going to show him. I know he's too young. He's not going to know this forever. And I want to show women too, because I also was getting a lot of girls writing me, oh my gosh, like basically like, wow, you let go. No, I didn't let go of anything. Are you kidding me? I'm only gaining a whole lot more, you know? And I saw the fear in so many girls who were in fitness and wanted to compete and they wanted kids. I'm like, you know, no. So I wanted to show that just because you have a child does not mean that you can't be in shape. It doesn't mean that you can't compete. And so, you know, I worked hard, but I honored my body because it had just taken me through the most amazing journey. I didn't rush training despite what people think. I say that because I was back on stage right before 7 months postpartum. So, right. I mean, you would think I rushed my training, but I didn't. Like, I think what really helped me drop the weight was I did not put pressure on myself to drop the weight. And I started to make sure that I was eating enough because, you know, postpartum is really hard to remember to eat.
Because you're so busy.
Yeah, and your mind. Like I was just so captivated by myself that like I didn't care about anything else. And so yeah, and I had some postpartum things that I went through, like that was a little bit hard, and which is very normal and it's not talked about. Nobody talks about postpartum, and it's one of the most important trimesters, like their fourth trimester after you have the baby. That's really important, and that's when a lot of women need a lot of help. And I feel like a lot of women are just, oh, you had the baby, congratulations, how's the baby? Like, how can you ask me how I am? Or like, I need support here, I just need somebody to talk to, I haven't slept. Whatever. Like, there's so much, and just emotionally, like maybe your husband won't understand or your wife won't understand. Like, there's just a lot. So I really encourage everybody who has a friend who's had a baby or anything, just ask them how they are and just be there for them postpartum. Ask them if they need any help with cooking or cleaning or whatever, because it will be so appreciated. But yeah, so I was just motivated. I wanted to show that you could do it, and I was able to do it faster than I even thought.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it was really cool to see you post about something different than the normal narrative, which is, oh, get your baby, what is it? What am I trying to say? Like, get rid of your baby body, and like,
yeah.
Oh my God, it's so annoying. And like, I'm not a mom. I have a lot of respect for moms, is why I'm doing this series. Like, I am inspired every single day by them. I think just phenomenal. I can't believe it. So anyway, yeah, seriously. And when I see that stuff, it upsets me, because I'm like, you are so much more than that. Like, what the heck?
I know.
That was cool to see you take that on.
Yeah. And like, for example, like, I'm the Paulino trainer on the Push app.
Mm-hmm.
And I help women through first, second, third trimester. It's healthy. It's important too. I have postpartum workouts, mommy and me workouts, but it's nothing, you have to wait to get cleared for your doctor. One of the things that I'm like, is I see a mom that just had a baby, and it's 3 weeks postpartum, and I'm like, be careful. Like, you still have relaxin in your body. Like, you can injure yourself.
Yeah.
You can still, diastasis recti. Like, you can, there's just, and again, if you need it for your mental health, then you do what you need to do. But if it's for pressure because you feel that you need to look a certain way, like, stop. You're enjoy, like, just do your best. I don't like to just say enjoy it, because you can't force somebody if they're not there, but do your best to just honor yourself and what you went through, and try to shut people out. Like, if you are getting bad vibes from somebody, boundaries, girlfriend, who cares? Put them up. No, you have to protect yourself, and especially your mental health in postpartum. Like, there are one thing that I was like, what in the world is the mom shaming and the people trying to give you all of these, all this advice and unwanted. Like, you didn't ask for it, and I get it. It's not most times it's not coming from a bad place, so you can't get mad, but you don't know what somebody is going through. If you're just throwing stuff out there and you don't know how you're affecting them, then come on, just be a little bit more thoughtful, or just, conscious. But yeah.
I've been feeling that so much.
Yeah, I'm not for the, oh, you're clear, just go. You cannot go hardcore. You should not go hardcore. Like, take it easy. Like, go slowly. I felt so weak after, and I trained throughout my pregnancy, but I wasn't like, I got cleared at like five. I stopped bleeding at like 3 weeks or something. At 5 weeks or so, 5.5 weeks, I got cleared, but I didn't go. I started in my my garage gym, and I do 3 sets of this, maybe 3 exercises, like whatever I saw, and that was good enough for me. I wasn't trying to do full workouts. I don't recommend doing full workouts. Your body is still healing. It is still healing. It's going to be healing for a long time. So I just advise moms and new moms to just take it easy. I get it. You go like, oh my God, you like start feeling crazy. I need to work out. And if you need to, and you're cleared by your doctor, then go lightly. Just do a little bit, but don't go crazy, and don't listen to a lot of these people that are like, oh, you should, like you said, there's nothing wrong with a pregnancy body, with a postpartum body. It's like, what do you think like, I don't understand. There's nothing wrong with it. If you have forever to like just enjoy those moments with your baby. That's my biggest thing. Work toward losing the weight, and I will help you lose the weight, and I will help you get there. But my thing is always mental health. So if like you can be physically look great and you lost all the weight, but if upstairs you ain't good and you are having a lot of issues and now you're feeling down and you are judging yourself, then you know what? Then there's a lot of work, more important work that needs to be done, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yes. I can't agree more, of course, because it's something I value so much, and I appreciate that you share that so strongly and you put that out there. I want to be respectful of your time. There's a few other things I really want to talk to you
Yeah,
about.
God.
Okay. So, something you had shared in a post as well, speaking of postpartum, is that you didn't get to breastfeed as long as you would have liked. Do you know what led to
Yeah.
that? Is it different for everyone? Like, what's that?
Yeah, everybody has a different journey. I actually didn't realize how hard breastfeeding can be. Like, my gosh, like that was very difficult for me mentally. I did not put any much thought into it throughout my pregnancy. That was like probably the only thing I didn't put much thought into. And it hit me hard, man. Like I think that for me, you know, and I could be totally wrong. I don't know. I'll never know. But I did everything that I could. I the way that everything went, my baby was taken straight to the NICU. I got, contradicting information from 2 nurses and lactation consultants. So I didn't pump throughout the night. I want to do it. And, I was also, which I think this was a big part of it, was, so the NICU was very stressful for me. Not, for one, I couldn't take my baby home. I couldn't sleep with my baby. I couldn't, but so he had tubes and stuff, like feeding tubes, and like that was terrible to see. But there were like time limits. Like they said basically, okay, you can try. I didn't even try to breastfeed because they're like, no, he's too little, this and that. So already right off the bat, I couldn't even put him. So I put him, to see if he latched. He latched, but I was so pressured with time. It was like, okay, 15 minutes. So then I was like, the thing in my mind was, I want him to eat enough. How do I know if he's having enough? So I would like just take a bottle because I could see it. And so it was like, I wouldn't put him to my breast. I'd put him on the bottle, and you should put him there all the time. Like that's what's going to really stimulate your milk to produce. And so because of the pressure that I felt, because I didn't want them to put the feeding tube again, it was like, okay, so I can put him to breast. I don't know how much he's going to eat. If I give him this bottle, I know he'll eat. He ate, but then he fed, but then, then they won't put the feeding tube back on. Like it was just, it was hard. It was very hard. So I wasn't, he wasn't on there as much as he should have been on there. And then when I got home, like I tried, I really did. I hired another lactation consultant who's actually the one that works with my midwife. And then I tried all these different things. I did power pumping. I mean, everything you could think of. I was using the pumping machine from the hospital because it was like just stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I did the best that I could. So I was able to breastfeed maybe 6.5 weeks or so, which I'll take it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do it for months and months, but those are the most important weeks, I think. And so, I'm happy that I was able to do that, but man, it was hard. Like I took that. You take it as if you did something wrong. Like you take it, you blame yourself, or you're like, oh my, like, not, like I'm supposed to be able to do this. And so, I had to do some work on that, and just like letting go and forgiving myself, and just, really not letting it be, and just healing from what that was like for me. But it was hard. It was
Mhm.
definitely hard. And no, it's different for everybody. There are people who have absolutely no issues. There are people that have issues with just latching but everybody's different.
Yeah, and it seems like that's true in all of these cases, and a lot of what, we expect of ourselves in any time of life sometimes ends up taking us another way, and we get to learn from it, and it revealed more to you about yourself. And I imagine this goes into what you discuss and have a passion for, which is conscious parenting. Can you break this down for us? What does that mean, look like, feel like what's the importance of it? Yeah.
So it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's basically the awareness, it's having awareness and it goes with the parent. So the awareness of the parent of his or her own wounds and how they impact their child. Um, it's also just being really connected to your child and your own feelings. So your child's feelings and your feelings, knowing that they're separate, but also just recognizing that your child is an individual person and they're on their own path and they're not your mini me. Like we use that term a lot, but they're not our mini me's. They're not. They are their own unique beings. And it's just having respect for your child. I like that's something society wants to tell us. The way society tells us to parent is control your child, fix your child. Your child's not listening to you and he's pissing you off and he's triggering you, fix the child. Hell no. Fix the damn parent. It's not a child. The parent is the adult. So the child is getting a tantrum. So you don't like it. So you get pissed off or it triggers you to something. Instead of screaming at the child, which is the last thing the child needs, you take a second and you ask yourself, where is this coming from? What is it that is really bothering me right now? A lot of times it's fear. So fear of what? Maybe the person had a very controlling parent and, their child isn't listening to them. And so they get frustrated and they scream because they got overwhelmed and they're afraid of maybe losing control. And they can't lose control because if they lose control, then, they're not
Mhm.
worthy or whatever. They're not strong or they're whatever the story is for them. Like I said, we've all gone through different things in our lives that make us feel a certain way. And we feel that we need to be a certain way to basically survive. And so that's all ego driven and it's the ego's going to do what it needs to do to protect. So it's basically turning that around and saying, my child looks to me for, especially newborns and, toddlers and stuff. And the toddler years are so hard for the toddler too. Like there's so many emotions and so many feelings and so many, they don't have that voice yet. They can't communicate things. And I always tell parents, how would you feel if you maybe didn't feel good or something was bothering you, but you could not voice it? You can't communicate that to somebody. How would you feel? Do you think you'd be crying or how would you communicate it? And so it's about your child is not here for you to control. And a lot of parents, depending on where their personal development journey is, some understand it, some do not, some kind of, but children are not ours to control. They're not even ours. We bring them to the world, but we don't own them. That's like saying I own a human being. So my conscious parenting is one of those things where you raise based on your awareness. You raise children in a way where they feel they're already happy. They're already who they are. They have their personalities. You're not trying to mold them into something that they're not based on your own fantasy, because you hear this often. Oh, my child's going to be a football star. My child's going to be a doctor. Well, how the hell do you know your child wants to be that? Your child may not want anything to do with that. And if your child wants to be, I don't know, a ballet dancer, why is that wrong? Because it's that doesn't look like success in your eyes. What if that's what makes your child happy? So is it about showing off and telling others, oh, my child is this, and being proud, or is it or do you want your child to be happy doing something that your child loves? And so a lot of parents, they do a lot of damage, and it's not intentional. You know, they can have so much love for a child, and you can love a child so much and still hurt them if you're not conscious. Mm-hmm. So, that's what it is. It's really just before you respond, you take a second and think about it. You know, you got to remember, the child that's screaming, that's, crying or whatever, they're not doing it to piss you off. They're really not, and then you have to remember that there's like this disconnect between parents and child. And it's like, well, I just have to control their behavior so that they don't trigger me, because mm-hmm. it's uncomfortable when they trigger me. Well, it's not about you. It's you would never talk to an adult the way that some people talk to children. So why is it okay to talk to children that way? So, yeah. And again, children, teenagers that get into, aren't getting along with their parents and all this, they need connection. So when a child gets a tantrum, get down to their level and try to understand them. All they want is you and your attention, and they're not getting it, right? And so when they grow up in teenagers and they're, you're fighting all the time or whatever, it's that connection, and you have to try to get that connection and really get to the root of what it is and get to know your child. And, a lot of trust is lost in childhood from parents. Mm-hmm. It's lost in a lot of ways that people don't even think it can be lost. Like, forcing a child to say hi to someone. What if the child doesn't want to hug their grandpa at that moment? Don't force a child to hug the grandpa or the stranger, or just like if I said to you, go hug that man, you're like, I don't want to hug that man. I don't know who he is. So it's not any different. It's just really having respect and understanding that they have their own feelings and boundaries already. And we have to respect them, because what we do is then we start trying to force them to be something that they're not. And then we have all these people in adulthood going to therapy trying to undo everything that the parent did. So, yeah, I kind of went like.
That was awesome. No, that was awesome. I feel like that's one of those things that people rewind and listen to again, because you had so many amazing things to share there. And it sounds like a lot of it comes down to like honoring the child, respecting the child, and also honoring yourself enough to be mindful and aware and conscious of your own behaviors and those triggers. And you brought up a lot of great points that made me even think, yeah, you know what? And this is also how we need to treat ourselves, and recognizing those triggers and the societal driven behavior patterns, or shoulds and oughts. And also like just thinking about developmental stages in life, how valuable that absolutely is, like honoring that and really taking that into consideration with the way we approach not just a child, but also ourselves and others. And I thought everything you shared was really beautiful. And I'm curious how this work has been done between you and your husband, because it's a team effort in your guys' case. So do you feel like working within and on your relationship with him also has an impact on being a conscious parent?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. Your child also they're learning by just watching. So, a lot of people think, I'm telling you to not do this, but if you're doing it, your child's gonna be like, what? Like, they're gonna learn by what they see. So we're teaching him right now. We're teaching our son, and he's 2. Don't even ask me how many months. After 24 months, he's 2. He'll be 3 in December. But we're teaching him right now what a relationship is. So when he is at that age where he has a relationship, he's gonna, we're giving him that, what's the word? example right now of what it is, of what is a loving, what's acceptable and what's not, boundaries, all of that, because boundaries and all that is very important between your spouse, your mother, your father, your children. Like, you need boundaries with everybody. It's healthy. You need healthy boundaries. So, you know, we do not, if we have a disagreement, you know, we're great. I love my family. I have to say, we're not perfect. Nobody is. But, you know, if we do have some disagreement or something, we don't do that in front of Breton. We just don't raise our voices in general at all. But, I just talk really loud, but I don't like yell, like, you know,
you're passionate.
I just don't. Yeah. Oh, girl. Yes, that's exactly. No. But no, with Whitney, you know, I have to say, I'm so happy, and it makes me so happy, because when I started talking to him about what conscious parenting was, he was so on board, and it's the best thing to see him practice it. Like, I see him practice it, and I see him, you know, he listens, and I'm like, hey babe, like, I know, you know, you said this, maybe, this is how that was communicated. Is that what you want to communicate? Like, maybe if it is, okay, if it's not, then, but we both do that, you know, so we kind of help each other out. But since I've been doing this forever, and you know, I'm obsessed with it, then it's more, and I spend a lot more time with Breton. You know, I practice a lot more, but with him, he's awesome. Like, it's awesome to see like a conscious dad, you know. But yeah, we understand that we are his example right now. And so, you know, if you want, and this goes for, you know, how do you want, if you want to grow your son to be a gentleman, then that you have to show him those examples from, you know, he's going to grow up seeing it. So yeah.
I love that. Oh no, totally answers the question. And it's always interesting just to hear the perspective from like a relationship standpoint, and also how you guys have been able to establish that as something you can work on and encourage each other on together. And I just think that's super awesome. And you also mentioned earlier, you like to keep things very natural with your son. And you also talked about, you know, how there was a lot of judgment around parenting decisions or things you did. And I was curious, did you get any pushback or any types of judgment from people when you announced that you were raising your son as a vegan?
Not as much as maybe people would think. You know, Whitney's not vegan at all, and he has no desire.
I was wondering if you guys were vegan, because I didn't think that
I am.
Okay.
I'm vegan. Whitney's not, and that's fine. That's his choice, you know. And with Breton, we've talked about it, and I get it, because there's a lot of misconceptions on, you know, people who are vegan, and also just being vegan. So
right.
I'm just gonna clear up like a couple of things, because so people can understand. Like, being vegan is actually that's just the thought process, the philosophy behind it. Like, you do not believe in the unethical treatment of animals. You don't believe that animals should be, you know, tortured and killed for you to eat them. And so that's my belief. So when you're vegan, because the term gets thrown around a lot, like, oh, I'm vegan, but I eat fish. No, then you're not vegan, you're pescatarian. It gets thrown around a lot. And then plant-based is actually just that's the diet. So when you like, because I hear like people, oh, you're on this diet. I'm like, no, it's not a diet. It's just the way I live my life. Like, it's, you know, plant-based is an actual, so somebody who's doing it because they want to lose weight, their first thing isn't the animals. They just, you know, they're doing it for whatever. So, with, no, Breton has been since pretty much day one, as soon as he got out of the NICU, because I didn't think, you know, I had to supplement too. I was able to just exclusively breastfeed. So he was on a vegan supplement, not soy-based, but which there's nothing wrong with soy, but I just didn't want like straight soy. And I was able to find a formula that was really awesome. But yeah, no, I actually didn't get too much. You know, you have the people, like, even Whitney was a little bit concerned. He's like, well, I want to make sure. I'm like, Whitney, do you trust me? Like, trust me, my son, like, our son's going to be healthy. And he is, like, you know, he was born 4 pounds and he has caught up really well so far.
Nice.
You know, yeah, like you can't tell, like, he's not the biggest kid in the classroom, but he's not the smallest kid either, you know, so he's caught up. And every doctor's visit, he's on point, you know, he's growing, great. He's so healthy. Like I said, this boy rarely gets sick. And I make sure that I'm incorporating a lot of different foods, you know, so that he's getting everything that he needs on top of his vitamins and minerals and all that. So I'm very on top of that, which is very important because you can be vegan and not be healthy. Like, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthy. I think a lot of people that try a plant-based diet, sometimes are just missing a lot of things. And so then they're like, oh, it didn't work for me or whatever. Different situations, but I've come across a lot of people that just were missing a lot of things. And of course, then you start feeling tired and you start, you know, because your body needs certain things. And if you don't know where to get them from or how to get them, then that becomes a problem.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you giving us your perspective on that, because I think it goes back to that judgment. Like, some people fear the decision that they believe could be really empowering or impactful because of judgment or confrontation or whatever. And so you've been able to really just make those decisions and do it in a healthy way that makes sense for you and for him. And you know, I would probably get in trouble by some listeners if I didn't ask you this, but what do you do? Because a lot of our listeners wanted to know, like, they are moms, or they are going to become moms, and they want to know how to prioritize time with their kids. And so what do you do to set yourself up for personal success in not just as a mom, but also in your work and in your personal goals?
Taking time for ourselves, which is not always easy. It is not. I think it's very hard. So taking time for yourself, and that means, like I said, self-care is so important. And just, if you want to do something, you have to set the time, coordinate it, and you have to just do it. You have to just do it, because I'll tell you what, like, I work from home, but I travel too. It just depends on what I'm doing. There is always something to do in your house. There's always something to do. There's always something to do. So, I can literally, like, just say, okay, well, a toddler is enough. Like, you have a lot going on with just your toddler on top of 6 animals that I have.
Wow.
But and most of them are like special needs. But
wait, what kind of animals do you have?
So I have 3 dogs. One of them I just bought a wheelchair for, but it's not quite working. He can barely walk. I basically have to feed him by mouth because he has no teeth.
Wow.
And I don't like to see him walking around the whole house because it hurts me, because his back legs just, they're not paralyzed, but they pretty much don't work. So, but the wheelchair, he's not used to it yet, and he has to get strong enough for it. So that takes up a lot. I have a Pomeranian. She has issues with her eyes. She's almost blind. She's very anxious. Then I have a rescue. He's he's a mix, like Beagle Shepherd mix. I don't know.
Wow.
Gunner. He's very he's awesome. He's very attached to me. I have a Sphinx cat, Raja, who is amazing. I have a chameleon, which I love, but her name is Aura. She takes up a lot of time as well. And then I just I rescued a cat from the middle of the street. Cars were literally running over her, over her. And I just stopped in the middle of the road. I was like, oh my God. So I was thankfully able to grab her. She's 6 weeks. I've been to the vet with her 3 times in a week.
Wow.
And those are my animals. I'm a huge animal lover. But yeah, just you have to find the time. I don't have any family here, so it's very hard. I don't trust just anybody with my child. And, so when Whitney comes home from work, because he does go into the office, then I have to make it a priority to go work out or do whatever. So Brandon's in school. Well, he was until this whole thing happened.
Yeah.
He's in school part-time. So that was something I struggled with too in the very beginning, was like, should I put him in school? Should I not? Like, I thought I was a terrible mom for putting him in school. And then I realized, no, you're not. Like, this is great for him. And you need your time too, to be able to be the best mom you could be. And so, he'll be going back if things are a little different now, because I'm home with him, all day, every day, because of the whole quarantine thing. But, when I don't, like, I write down, I have a list. These are the most important things. Like, these are my priorities. This is what I have to do. I take them to school. And I just go down my list, and I take time for me to just breathe, to just be quiet, to do whatever I need, take care of my clients, do whatever, I schedule all my calls. Now I have to do everything in the evening because I have to wait for Whitney to come home. But I still make sure that if I need help or I need something, I voice it. We have a hard time asking for help, women, and we need to do it more often. So yeah, that's kind of what I do to get everything done and just be my best me mentally, so that I'm able to, accomplish the things that I want.
Well, I really appreciate just everything you've shared and your perspective on parenting and as a mother. And I really want to ask you some questions about what it was like to be Miss Bikini International, and if that's a title you want to earn back. You mentioned, do I want to keep going back to win the same show? So is that something you want to do?
It's an honor to be, Miss Bikini International, and just to have won that show 3 times, and it's just like unreal. Is it something that I'm gonna go after again? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't, this is how I work. I'm literally like, I can be the most spontaneous person. So I could just be like, you know what? I want to do finals, But as of right now, no. Competing, maybe. I can't say anything yet. I wish I could. But yeah.
How did I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm like, I don't know if that my like back way answer made any sense, but there's a surprise coming up that I want to, I can't say anything about it yet, but I'm gonna have a really exciting, awesome announcement within the next couple months, hopefully, and yeah.
And that's that.
That's all I can say now.
I won't pry, but I'll be very excited like everybody else. When you did say it was an honor to have that title. So when you held that, and you held it 3 times, what did that do for your life? Like, what did that mean for your life? Did it influence like sponsorships or opportunities, or maybe contribute to other success that you had? Like, what was the impact of it?
It was just one of those titles, it's just such a prestigious title. So for me to have been able to accomplish that, it made me feel really good about myself and my hard work, and all the sacrifices that, I had made, throughout the years and continued to make. And it made it worth it, because there were times where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna, I don't know. And, I didn't stop, I kept going, and I kept going regardless. And so it made all of that totally worth it. As far as sponsorships and stuff, so I've had a sponsor, like, and when I say sponsor, I'm talking about a paid sponsor, not, I think that's something that I'm not, Yeah, because I think a lot of girls will say, "Oh, I'm gonna get sponsored." I'm like, "Are you getting a paycheck every month?" And so that's what I'm talking about, is when you're actually getting money for and not products. But since I was an amateur, which is really rare, and especially now, it's even hard for pros to have a
Mm-hmm.
sponsorship. So that's changed a lot, because there's just so many people who are doing things for free, and just, companies realize, you know what, we don't need to pay, because we have all of these people with big followings that are doing stuff for free. Like, see, I don't.
Yeah.
I won't. I'm about business. So for me, I don't know if anything. I don't know that anything changed. I've always had stuff going on. My own stuff that came from, competing, like work-wise, and, businesses and stuff. So I don't know. I don't think that it didn't make any like huge changes. Cause at that point, I had done most of my magazines and like all of that. I was already traveling the world. I was just, I don't know.
You know what though? That's the perspective that I think people need to hear. Like, that's the reality. You went out and you got it. You made it happen for yourself. It wasn't this magical thing that you got this title and all of a sudden everything was handed to
Oh
you,
no, girl, no.
And I think
Because
some people think, oh, once I achieve that, then I'll do this. Then I'll be able to do that.
No, and yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I get asked that a lot. Like, well, when I become a pro, am I gonna make money? I'm like, no, not necessarily. Like, back then it was only a handful of girls who were making good money, to where they didn't need another source of income when it came to sponsorships and stuff like that. And I'm just grateful that I've always been in that. But I've also just, like, I've had a very long career, and I've had a great career. And it's also about how you represent yourself, and you have to show up sometimes, and be there, and show up and be there, and just put yourself in a good place and be a good role model. And it's about a lot more. You have to be a good representation for fitness, for the sport. And then people want you for their business, And so for me, like I said, I've been with different companies, different kinds of companies. I've had a supplement company sponsorship, since 2011. I'm with BPI Sports now, and I love them. But no, you have to work for it, and it's not guaranteed for everybody. And now it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It was hard before, but now even a lot of the top bodybuilders are having issues. I mean, forget about the quarantine. A lot of athletes are actually right now, they're just, with everything going on, it's just nobody's really, but even the top, let's say this quarantine wasn't happening or whatever, even a lot of your top, like, bodybuilder, like male bodybuilders, aren't getting the sponsorships that they were getting, 4 or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I mean, it's changed a lot. So this is why it's really important too, to be different. I always say, post something more than just your body, because your body is just your body, and like that's not going to appeal to everybody or every business. Think about something, like, you have to think about what you want to do from the very beginning. Do I want to make a career out of this? And if so, what does that look like? And is that possible with this? Because you can make a career competing, sure, but is it going to bring you the money that you need to live, or to, accomplish what you want? Not if you're competing in bikini. No, it's not like you're going to be earning that much money, and you're going to have to be competing in a whole lot of shows and win a whole lot of shows to be able to make, a good amount of money, a decent amount of money. But that's not something that's sustainable. You need you need more. So what do you want? Do you want to make a business out of this? If so, start setting yourself up for that. Don't wait until, you've won 5 shows and say, now I can start. No, start the process of it, because it takes time. Whatever that is, start talking about it, or start easing it into people on social media, whatever. Like, you have to think ahead, and you can't depend solely on just being in shape and, like sponsorship. Like I always say, have something else going on for yourself, have another source of income that is very stable, because at the end of the day, a sponsorship is a contract, and it can be cut at any time. So that you have to be able to support yourself in a different way. Yeah. And no, winning shows isn't going to make you rich and famous. And no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's how do you show up? What do you want to do? Like, what's the impact you're looking to make, or the statement you're making? And also passionate about, genuinely, excited to show up for. And I appreciate you providing that perspective. And of course, the industry has changed over the last decade. The appeal to, with social media, with the different types of representations of the sport now, it's not just, these people who are competing are the ones who are getting featured in magazines. It's like, now there's models doing it all the time. So there's more opportunity for companies, I guess I could say, to pick and choose, and also then require that much more substance from people. And to that point, actually, I'm curious what you think, or what your personal view is on the current state of the bikini division and the look of it, the look of it.
So it's definitely changed a lot. I've seen it though happen, like just slowly, progressively throughout the years to where it's at now. I think all the divisions have kind of, for the most part, gotten more to that muscular, harder look. I know they were trying to kind of just control that in the last few years, and no, we don't want you super, super lean and no separation and all this and that. But a lot of girls, it's just overall, it's changed. Like the glutes they don't really look round anymore. It's just more, right. It's just really muscular. The abs, the midsection is just a lot harder. I mean, gosh, you go back to when bikini first started, and when bikini first started, it was more like a girl who likes to work out. I mean, you still bust your butt, but the look was a lot more feminine than it is now. Of course, these girls are all feminine, look beautiful, but when you are comparing from when it first started to now, it's very different.
Yeah,
very different. I mean, I like muscular. I like the hard look, the muscular look. If it gets any more than what it is, I mean, if they were a little bit less, I think I like it better. I think it went a little bit too hard and too muscular. But I hope it doesn't get any more than that. Because I think what's great, and something, the great things about the bikini division is that it's kind of like you get to have fun with it, because it's hair, makeup, beautiful suits, and you get to show your personality through posing. And it's just that femininity that comes with this division, which, yes, figure fitness, physique have it as well. But in bikini, it's more, it's a physique that girls look at and they're like, okay, I can work toward that. Physique, you need a lot more years, to work toward, and figure and stuff. So it's why it's very popular. But I mean, it's just different. It's different. The girls are beautiful, awesome. But if it were a tad bit less, I would like to see that. Issa looks amazing, Miss Bikini Olympia. Like, her body's insane. But yeah, I mean, I guess, and she's muscular and she's hard. So like, that's going to set the standard. So that's what people are going to bring in. I think and that's what it is. And that's what everybody needs to work towards, but it's changed a lot. I think the girls are great, but like I said, I miss bikini when it was a little bit less muscular and hard.
So like 2016 to 17 was maybe more like the look that you liked the best.
Because it took a few years to even figure out what the look was, and I felt like bikini is one of those divisions where it was like, well, do we really know? Because it changed so much, but you have so many different body types. But for the most part, you're going to the same, the top 6 in the Olympia and Arnold changed completely. Gosh, like I didn't know most of these girls. The only girl up there that I competed with was Janet. And I've been one of those girls who, until 2017, I was the only girl that had competed consistently since like bikini first started. Like it was crazy. Everybody else was new. Like I competed with Jamie Baird, Natalia Mello, Diana
one of
Dahlgren,
the OGs.
Yeah, and what's her name? Nicole Negroni. Like back then. And we all competed together for a while, and then then Jamie left, Nicole left, Jamie left, Sonia Gonzalez, like she was one of the first ones to leave, and then Amanda Latona, and then so I was, and then Janet came in, and Norman was in the top 6, and a bunch of other girls, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, who are these people?
Yeah,
there's a lot of, because actually, which year was it? Can't remember what year it was, where 4 of the top 6 girls, 4 or 5 of the top 6 girls were not going to be in the Arnold. And that year changed it all, because I think it was 2018. Maybe it was 2018, because I remember I was like, I'm not there. Like, so many of us that were always there weren't there. And so, of course, then that's going to bring in a new group of girls. And it's kind of just been them throughout. So
yeah, they're definitely, I remember that really well. Like, oh wow, where did these girls go who were like really holding it down? And then all of a sudden you also had those like dark horses coming up.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see, and it's always like exciting. Like it's still exciting for me to watch. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the Arnold, the Olympia, like this was last year it was the first Olympia I actually didn't go to, which was weird for me, but it was still like, it's still fun. I still get like, like who's gonna get it? It's very exciting for me.
Yes, I can tell you have a lot of passion and respect for the sport, and you've displayed that over the years, and I really appreciate you coming on my show and sharing so much of your experience, as well as just your insights and outlooks, and like I said, there's so much valuable information, and I'd love everybody to be able to connect with you or reach out to you and even inquire about working with you or ask you more questions. So do you mind sharing where people can find and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram. You can and on YouTube. I just started back up my YouTube slowly. It's all India Paulino. If you're gonna write me like a message, like DM me on Instagram. And if I don't respond, just leave me a comment. Hey, I DM'd you, because sometimes I get lost. But if you write me on Facebook, I'll never see it. That's like my bigger page. You can also email me a direct question at india@indiapaulino.com. And you can subscribe to Raw, my podcast. I have a few episodes that I've been, topics that I've been working on that I want to release soon. But definitely, if it's a question or anything like that, the easiest way to connect with me is just DM me on Instagram. We can talk about anything on there, whether it's training, personal development sessions, whatever.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll definitely make sure I put all of those links in the show notes page, so you guys know that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. There will be a category section with India's name, so you can, of course, always click there. Or if you're listening right away, it's at the very top of the page. And yeah, I mean, tag us as you listen, share those main takeaways you had, post about it, let India know what you appreciated and learned, because I know there were a lot of golden nuggets. So we'll look forward to celebrating that with you guys. Well, India, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time so much.
No, thank you so much for having me. I loved chatting with you. This was a lot of fun. I can
Good.
talk to you all day.
I know, that's what I felt like too. I was like, damn, we could really keep this going. Like, it was awesome. We'll have to do like Instagram live or something.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. And to everybody listening, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this podcast.